Great, thank you very much, and welcome back from lunch. Really motivated by a great morning, diverse perspectives. We're going to open the afternoon with the first of 3 shared value storytellers. For those of you who were with us last year, you know we launched this particular sort of short TED-style talk to really try to bring new voices and new examples to the dialogue. This year, like last year, we opened this up as an open competition for submissions. The 3 folks that you'll hear from over the next 2 days were the successful applicants out of 60 applications. So a highly competitive process to pick 3 unique new stories. As I was thinking about these storyteller slots and we were reviewing the applications, we of course got word of the tragedy that was unfolding in Nepal with an earthquake. And of course, in my mind, I was thinking back to one of our storytellers last year, for those of you who were with us, Bruce Christensen from Cartaway Concrete Systems. In fact, people still ask me about last year's event. They say, hey, what about the shovel guy? Because Bruce came up here with a shovel. And Bruce's story was about concrete and substandard building approaches and mixing concrete on the ground with a shovel that led to dangerous conditions, primarily in emerging markets, something unfortunately we were reminded of just 2 weeks ago in Nepal. So these storytellers are powerful examples. I really look forward to hearing them and making sure that you know that there's people out there innovating in all sorts of different ways around shared value. And in this particular case, I'm pleased to introduce Zoe Piper. She is the director and founder, co-founder of a company called Ecolour. I wanted to call it Ecolour, but she fixed it for me and told me I didn't have to make it fancier than it was, Ecolour. Zoe is joining us all the way from Australia, and so without further ado, I introduce Zoe Piper.
Hi, so today I'd like to talk to you about the impact that paint is having on the air we breathe and how Ecolour is addressing this challenge. So the issue with normal paints is that they contain volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, and these are responsible for the toxic fumes that you smell when you walk into a freshly painted room. So just to clarify, I'm talking about house paint, obviously, interior, exterior, and so on. These VOCs cause all kinds of health issues, from asthma to headaches to cancer. The World Health Organization actually classifies painting as a high-risk occupation because so many painters end up with lung and bladder cancer as a result of repeated exposure to these VOCs. And it's not hard to see why when you read the warning label on paints. It's not just painters that are impacted. Anybody who spends time indoors is also exposed to the toxins in regular paint. And they'll continue to outgas for years after application. Knowing this, I always feel a little bit concerned about the practice of going out and painting the baby's room just before it arrives. A recent study of new homes found that even after 12 months, homes still contained 20 times the safe recommended level of VOCs. If it happens to be a commercial building, it's very easy for these toxins to get sucked into the air conditioning system and then distributed throughout the building. And I'm sure you can appreciate the legal liability that goes along with asking people to work with these materials that are known to cause cancer and then having people occupy the spaces straight after. So Ecolour paints are different because we contain absolutely 0 VOCs, and this offers a significant range of benefits. From a health perspective, they're better for painters and better for people living and working in painted spaces, which of course means less legal liability. Because they don't have that nasty paint smell, rooms can be reoccupied straight away as well, which is much better for asset utilisation. So this is particularly important in hotels, for example, and in hospitals. A bed in an intensive care unit can cost around $10,000 a night, so it can add up very quickly if you need to leave it vacant for a few weeks to air out. And of course, there's no toxins to get sucked into the air conditioning system. We've actually had a few clients switch over to Ecolour from other brands because of cases where this has happened. One led to the evacuation of a large office tower. The other caused a shutdown of a section of Melbourne Airport because of a suspected anthrax scare. So emergency procedures there obviously got immediately triggered while they worked out that it was actually painting happening on site that caused the problem rather than anthrax. Of course, not as bad as anthrax, but still not great. Neither of these organisations wanted to take the risk of using normal paints again, so they switched over to Ecolour. Even if buildings being painted aren't occupied, it can still be expensive to flush the VOCs out of the air conditioning system after painting. With Ecolour, you can just avoid putting them in there in the first place. Now, there are some companies that have low VOC ranges, but you can still be 7.5% VOC and refer to yourself as low toxin. In the US, for some reason, you can have a product that's 5% pure VOC and refer to yourself as 0 VOC. I'm not quite sure why that is. But Ecolour is genuinely 0 VOC according to the mathematical definition of 0. There are some natural paints that are 0 VOC, but these are quite difficult to work with. You often need to mix them up yourself. They might come in 3 colours and they tend to be really expensive. So Ecolour is really the only commercial scale water-based paint that's 0 VOC and works just the same as regular paints. A second key way that we generate shared value is that part of our production process involves taking waste engine oil and using it as a key ingredient in our paint. This waste oil gets dropped off at collection stations around the country in Australia, and I imagine it's similar here and possibly elsewhere. And usually they just burn it to get rid of it. This generates a little bit of energy, but obviously pumps a huge amount of CO2 into the atmosphere. So instead of it getting burnt, we take it and we turn it into paint. As a result, Ecolour is carbon neutral. Now, the oil actually helps the paint glide on smoothly onto the walls. It also stops it dripping as much as regular paints, so it actually results in a better quality product. The Carbon Reduction Institute in Australia has calculated that about 2.9 kilos of CO2 equivalent are released per litre of oil burnt as fuel, or around 24 pounds of CO2 equivalent per gallon of oil used as fuel. At current volumes of paint sold, that means Ecolour prevents around 3 to 4 tonne of CO2 equivalent from being emitted into the atmosphere each year. And that CO2 reduction is only going to increase moving forward. So understanding and managing all potential impacts on health, the environment and so on is just part of how we do business at Ecolour rather than being a standalone initiative or program. So in addition to our products being non-toxic and carbon neutral, there's other benefits we deliver as well. Firstly, with regard to employment, we provide employment in a regional area in Australia, and while most manufacturing is on the decline there, we're actually growing rapidly and therefore hiring more people. Also, in terms of diversity, while manufacturing might be traditionally thought of as quite a male-dominated industry, we actually have 50-50 gender diversity at senior levels in our company, and we'll be looking to maintain good gender diversity moving forward. So having a great story to tell and being a truly socially responsible company helps with getting customers interested in Ecolour and also generating a really strong sense of staff engagement. Most people still don't realise that there is a non-toxic option when it comes to paint, or that they can be helping to clean up the air quality with their choice of paint. So in terms of our products, Ecolour has a full range of premium and trade paint suitable for all applications, interior, exterior, hard surface sealer. We also have a one-coat paint that you can use on wood. We can do any colour from any colour chart. Our product works just like any other paint. There's no special application requirements. It gives great coverage and a high quality finish. So at this point you may be wondering how much extra it is to gain the Ecolour advantage. And the answer is 0. Our products are exactly the same price as the major brands available in the marketplace. In terms of the business results to date, we currently do a lot of work with large property developers. Rather than going into hardware stores, our strategy's been to go direct to the end consumer, whether that be in a retail or commercial setting. Right now we're achieving a 7-figure turnover and growing rapidly. The market for paint and surface coverings in Australia is about $2.5 billion US per year, and internationally it's around 100 billion. So even if we only get a very small percentage of that market, we'll be pretty happy. Right now we have a manufacturing plant and trade store based in Byron Bay, which is not a bad place to have a business. The image that you can see on the screen is the Byron at Byron Resort, which has been a long-term customer of Ecolour. We also have a trade store in Melbourne, stockists in other states in Australia, and we deliver direct to site Australia-wide. So in summary, we have a premium quality, non-toxic, carbon neutral product that's the same price as the major brands. The more paint we sell, the better indoor air quality gets and the less CO2 gets emitted into the atmosphere. And with major plans for further expansion nationally and internationally over the coming years, I feel that we're pretty well positioned to become a significant success story and demonstrate that it really does pay to generate shared value. Thank you.